Hi, and welcome back to Alex Talking. It's the end of another month on this beautiful June 29th morning here in Edgewater, Colorado. I'm going to rank every new release I saw in June, as well as I like to rank the new releases and kind of just do a what have I been watching little type of recap. I won't get into everything that I've watched this month, obviously, I would take all day. You can look at my letterbox down in the description if you want to see that. But I see a lot of classic movies because I live in the Denver area and make the most of living near 3 Alamo Draft Houses with an Alamo all-in pass, meaning I can go to a movie a day, as well as the C Film Center, which shows plenty of classic movies. I saw one movie there this month, Gummo. Absolutely amazing. The best thing I've seen all month. I absolutely was riveted by Gummo. Thought that it was an amazing portrayal of the type of America that you don't usually see on film. Thank you, Harmony Korine. But that being said, this month I saw a total of 24 movies in the cinemas. Well, no, I guess 24 new movies, but I don't even have Backrooms on this list. But I took my wife to see Backrooms last night for her birthday because she hadn't seen it yet, and she really enjoyed it. So that's all I'll say. I get out to the movies any chance I can. A lot of these came either at 10:30 p.m. showings after I had a shift working for the Colorado Rockies. Those movies, the 10 o'clock showings I went to, include Dressed to Kill, Brian De Palma's Dressed to Kill, as well as Body Double, and excuse me, Boogie Nights, Paul Thomas Anderson's Boogie Nights. There was a new 4K remaster of that, and that took me all the way until a little past midnight, but it was a great experience watching that in theaters, and one of the funnest final shots I've ever got to enjoy in a movie theater, especially in full 4K dong hanging restoration glory. I have to say that the Brian De Palma summer has been a lot of fun. I already mentioned the two that I saw at the midnight showings, but I went to a 6 o'clock showing of Mission Impossible on the first of the month. And that was such a great way to kick off the summer movie season because what a amazing experience after having seen Mission Impossibles 5, 6, 7, and 8 whenever they came out in theaters to go back and see the first one on the big screen. And Jean Reno is probably my favorite supporting character performance in the first like 3 movies. I think he plays off of Ethan great, and I wish they honestly could have brought him back in a later movie if he obviously didn't have twists and turns and what happens in that movie. But that's all just to say, my biggest takeaway was Jean Reno was fantastic in this movie. And that's the type of things you get out of going and seeing classic movies on the big screen. You get big takeaways that you maybe never thought of the 25 other times you've watched this movie on a TV at home with your mom in your life, which is my experience with Mission Impossible. Let's see what else we saw. Cape Fear. I did not like that as much in theaters. I'll be 100% honest. That played a little dull for me. Train Spotting, huge ups. That went way up in my esteem watching that in the theaters. Now, also, it's very fun. These are movies. I'm a 22-year-old, but I was like 16 and 17 whenever the pandemic happened. And in that time period, because I couldn't go outside, I just watched as many movies as possible. And since, I keep up a very, very healthy pace of constantly watching movies, I rewatch a lot of movies because I like to show them to my friends and my wife. But like Cape Fear and Train Spotting are 2 movies I hadn't seen since 2020. Like Boogie Nights is one that I had seen in 2020 and 2022 and 2024 and now again in 2026. Like, it's a movie that I rewatch every couple of years. Train Spotting I never rewatched. I don't know if I ever would have chosen to because I found it kind of unpleasant when I first saw it. But it went from a 3.5 to a 4.5 on this watch. It was fantastic. It really is just an amazing exercise of fearless filmmaking on Danny Boyle's behalf. And you still see him doing that 20 years, 28 years later, however long it's been, 30 actually. No, that's easy. It's 30 years since Train Spotting. That's why it was in theaters. But yeah, with 28 years later, Danny Boyle's going just as strong. Cave of Forgotten Dreams, the Werner Herzog documentary was a great time. Le Bonheur was the Agnes Varda film that was programmed by Olivia Wilde prior to The Invite. I love going to see the movies at the new indie movies like the Invite and I Love Boosters get programmed screenings with them, like Le Bonheur and let me see, what did I see for I Love Boosters? I saw Jacques Tati's Playtime, and I saw, well, Sorry to Bother You, obviously, was one of them. And there was another really good Boots Riley pick that's escaping me right now. I apologize, but something I saw last month was programmed by Boots, and this was programmed by Olivia Wilde. And Le Bonheur is actually, and I'm probably butchering that, but I always called it Le Bonheur. It's Lebonheur. I really hope that I get to edit these videos, put up posters and shit, just get a little bit of craft going. Maybe even have a studio going in about a month's time, because obviously if you're following me, you know my channel. If not, thank you for coming and watching this video. But I just moved here 2 months ago, and my posters are coming along well. We got a Jackass poster from the Alamo. We got a Scary Movie poster. So I'm building up a nice little studio with some art, and I hope to film there soon. And my wife just got a really nice laptop and a monitor, so I'm hoping that we can figure out how to edit these suckers. I'm getting there. Anyways, I digress. Thank you for watching. Anybody on Earth who watches these, thank you. But I was in Penn State French cinema class last year, and this was the movie I did my final on, because it's a just profound look at the human condition from Agnes Varda. It kind of is embarrassing to me that this is my favorite Agnes Varda film, in the same way that, like, my favorite Spike Lee movie is 25th Hour. Like, oh, of course, the Agnes Varda film that follows a guy as the main character and is really, like, an amazing depiction of the, like, flaws of the male psyche is your favorite. But I digress. It is. I saw Persona, the Ingmar Bergman movie. I thought that was a really fun experience to see in a dead silent theater with 8 other people, and in the only movie I've ever seen in an Alamo Drafthouse that nobody got anything to eat. Finally, I watched Unfriended, which is something I say finally because it came out 12 years ago, and my sister saw it in theaters, and I just made fun of her for it back whenever I was like 11, because I thought it looked stupid even then. Watching it in theaters now, yeah, it's dumb as a fucking box of rocks, but I'm glad I waited this long, and I'm glad I got to watch it in the theater, and I'm glad we all laughed together. It was dumb as fuck, but it was a good time. Insanely mean-spirited, and that goes way farther for me now than it would have when I was a teen. So, I had a good time with this one. I thought this was totally solid and had a good ending. I really liked the ending. But the absolute best movie we saw in Alamo Drafthouse, Unfriended, was Terror Tuesday. This was the Weird Wednesday companion piece. Amityville in 1992, It's About Time. The Amityville horror movie that is, in fact, about time. Quick pitch for this movie if you've never heard of it or seen it. You know the Amityville Horror House? Well, what if a clock from it was taken to California? I imagine it would haunt those people too. Check that movie out. It's on Tubi and a great fucking time. But now to talk about the movies I saw this month. And I'm going to go with 14 new releases, because I just remembered one that my wife and I watched on streaming a few nights ago. I don't have it on my list here in front of me, and I'm out in nature, so I can't add it. And I'm already in the middle of a video, so I can't add it. But I just remembered I watched it. So we'll get to that when we get to that. But starting at number 14, the worst movie I saw this month. And it's a tough fight between 14 and 13. They're both very fucking bad. Half a star movies and no redeeming qualities. Which I just have to preface, because there's very, very rare times in which I will feel that way about a movie, and it is shocking to me that happened twice this month. Number 14, though, just slightly worse because of the blatant and aggressive constant use of artificial intelligence, is Stop That Train. RuPaul Stop That Train. I actually hesitate to call this RuPaul Stop That Train, because I would hope RuPaul knows better than to do something this lazy and unfunny and just egregiously bad. It is a waste of perfectly good drag queens. Maybe they're the ones that got RuPaul to be in this. Like, I don't know how this got made, to be honest. It's that level of no effort, and because I'm like, who cared enough to make this if it's going to be this no effort? and everything's AI. My least favorite part was it was marketed as this big ensemble cast movie, and it had guys like Joel McHale and Jesse Tyler Ferguson on the trailer. And Modern Family is my favorite TV show, other than True Detective, but those are two entirely different planes. But Modern Family is my comfort TV show and my favorite sitcom of all time. And I just was really excited at the prospects of getting to see Jesse Tyler Ferguson in a movie. So the fact that they market it with all these celebrities, and outside of, I guess, Sarah Michelle Gellar, who gets 3 scenes, everyone's in it for the one scene that they're in it in the trailer, was the final insult to me. I was like, wow, it's all AI, it's all terrible, it's all unfunny. And I was like pretty much lied to in the marketing, it's fair to say. So, yeah, half a star. Nothing good about Stop That Train. Number 13. Ooh, unlucky 13. This was such a piece of shit. And differently than Stop That Train. And the only reason that I thought to put this below Stop That Train is because it's 2026. It's insane we're still making movies this bad. It's insane that, like, this much money can be put into this much of a waste of time. And that's Supergirl. I'm so disappointed by this movie, and I fucking hated Superman last year. Like, I thought Superman was one of the greatest symbols for everything wrong with modern studio filmmaking as well. Horrible CGI, visuals everywhere you look. You can't bind anything. It is written very, like, immaturely and for children, while also having stuff like sexy selfies and harems as a plot line. And has just glacial, sluggish pacing. This movie is all of that, but somehow way more generic and lame. And I like the character of Supergirl a lot. I did a whole review. If you want to watch my review, I get into all that. But I've always just found the new run of Supergirl, especially post New 52 and Rebirth, and of course Woman of Tomorrow, that came through my childhood, teenage years, and Woman of Tomorrow came out my senior year of high school. I found myself, I've read way more Supergirl comics than Superman comics in my life. I've only ever read the Superman Bendis run whenever it was going on for a little bit, and I didn't even like stay on it for that long. Supergirl, I've consistently read many comics and arcs, and I've waited my like borderline whole life for a Supergirl movie that's good ever since I was a very young kid, and watched the Supergirl movie and was like, oh, that's just as bad as Superman 4 or Batman and Robin. Thanks, Dad. But there's like a great bumper cart scene. There's like cars doing bumper cars in the original Supergirl movie. That's all I remember. It's a really terrible, terrible movie, but with an especially terrible scene that becomes memorable. This is like just as bad, but in 2026 filmmaking standards ways. So it's like horrible humor nonstop, horrible needle drops nonstop, terrible, lifeless, no choreography, action. And I just was bored the entire time and just disappointed that this is what they chose to do with this character, and that, like, for whatever reason, these characters, I guess this is a weird thing to like try to articulate, but doesn't it feel like these characters are just like decided by Warner Brothers that they need to be their biggest property, and they're not. They want to be like a big franchise like Marvel Cinematic Universe, but that's not even what Marvel can do anymore. And like these are the true, like, this just isn't working if you're not going to put any effort into it. Movies. Batman's popular. You can keep making those and those will succeed. But I think the idea that they can keep making superhero movies out of their DC brand characters and people will care after this one is going to be really tested, because this movie's making no money, because it was marketed horribly. It was just as bad as it looked. Well, it was way worse than it looked somehow. And literally, I don't know anyone who likes it. Like, I only know, and I've talked to 4 people in real life who have seen it. But I've talked to tons of people on the internet and watched videos, and it's just crazy to me that absolutely everybody is having the same problems with this movie. It's just that it's so no effort and so boring and something we've seen before, and it looks hideous. And it's crazy to me that we all can finally see that for once, because I felt so many of those things about Superman. But even then, I can like acknowledge that Superman is 10 times the movie this is, because it at least is trying to like do things. This is like literally trying to borrow from a great comic, take the worst elements of it, and make a horrible, horrible, ugly CGI mess. There's vomit in this movie nonstop. There's like I honestly don't know if I want to talk about this movie anymore. I did like I said, a whole review on it. It is just so assured of itself in what it's doing, and what it's doing is absolutely awful and not for anybody. It is just lightweight Guardians of the Galaxy ripoff, and completely ridiculous that they thought this was okay to release as a second movie in a franchise that they think is going to be their biggest property. It's crazy that they thought this was even a releasable movie in the first place. It's crazy it's been 40 years since a Supergirl movie, and this is the best we can do. It's terrible. It's just absolutely terrible, and I got no redeeming factors from this one either. So we are with our bottom two half-a-star movies, the only two movies I have nothing nice to say about. Coming in at 12, Toy Story 5. This was bad, but it's a weird thing where, like, we've been on a horrible run of blockbusters recently, like Toy Story 5, but before that, Disclosure Day and Masters of the Universe, which will come up next on this list, and Mandalorian and Grogu and Devil Wears Prada 2. Like, since the summer movie season started in May, like, we've been getting like a really, really horrible run of these blockbusters. The biggest mainstream films have all been ugly, no effort, terrible script messes. And then you get Toy Story 5, and this movie looks great. Absolutely stunning visuals and animation, but it's like completely spent. The bag has been stretched way too thin. There's nothing left to do with these characters, in my opinion. And then choosing to tell the story that they tell completely is the final nail in the coffin. Why would I ever want to watch a movie where Jesse has to learn how to team up with a potty training tech bot that it is okay to make friends through the internet and have an iPad? Not for me. I can't stand cell phones in movies. If you've known me for any period of time, one of my biggest turnoffs in a film is someone looking at a cell phone, or just a shot being a cell phone, because it's so uncinematic. And this is a whole movie about like kids being awkward and cringy on cell phones and tablets. Why would I want to watch that? Coming in at number 11, Masters of the Universe. I had been looking forward to this one for a number of years. Whenever it would pop up at the movie release schedule slate every year in December, and I'd be like, maybe it'll come out in December, maybe it'll come out in December. And then finally it was announced that Jeff from Bottoms was going to be playing He-Man, and we had a definitive He-Man. Maybe it's actually going to happen, and it did. And it was just embarrassed of what it was, horrible humor. Like, I'm sorry, but it's just, we're getting a string of so many blockbusters where nothing makes me laugh and everything looks ugly, and the movie's sense of humor is being like embarrassed about what it is. So I couldn't get into it. I couldn't get into this at all. Coming at number 10, just barely edging these movies out. I would have given Toy Story 5 and Masters of the Universe 2 stars. I'd give this movie a 2.5. Disclosure Day. And honestly, I'm allowed to make my own rules. That's why I'd give it on Letterboxd. I'd give this a 2.2 if I was grading completely on any scale. 2.2 out of 5, just because I found the acting and the writing and the score to all just be objectively very flawed and bad. This is a worse script than anything I think Spielberg has maybe ever made. And it is like, it's on the level of BFG Ready Player One blockbuster slop. It just has a little bit more gravitas because Jan Kaminski's amazing cinematography does lift it up. Leviticus, just above Disclosure Day, number 9. I don't have much to say about Leviticus. I thought this was solid. It was just not anything that I felt like I hadn't seen before, so I wasn't terribly engaged with much of it. And then it ended without scaring me or really engaging me with any thought other than Oh, that's a good idea for a horror movie. Number 8, we're going to go with the movie that I forgot. It is, oh man, Little Brother. I was like, I can't even remember the title. Little Brother, John Cena and Eric Andre's new Netflix comedy. Not very memorable, but it was at least funnier than everything below it. So, and it has Michelle Monaghan eating John Cena's ass out. So, check it out, Netflix. Number 7, Scary Movie. And 7 and 6 are very close too. I'm actually going to talk about them together because number 7, Scary Movie. Number 6 is Jackass Best in Last. And I put Jackass Best in Last above Scary Movie because I got way more consistent laughs out of this, even though they're both just great times seeing people that have always made me laugh make me laugh again, even if it's not as funny as it's been before. It's a solid version of it. Number 5, Girls Like Girls. This was way better than I expected. My wife just asked me to see this one day before I went to work. We went to a 10:30 a.m. morning showing date of it, and I thought this was super powerful, and a great depiction of coming of age as a lesbian and not, making it all pretty and perfect. Just a very honest, very nice, raw depiction of humanity. And I call these Genes movies just movies about real people being people that feel so authentic. And that's what this felt like to me. It moved me, and I thought the main actor or actress was great. Good movie. Good movie. I definitely think that more people should have gotten their eyes on this one, and I hope it finds a life on streaming because it made no impact in theaters. But both my wife and I thought this was great. Now we have the top 4, and I will say the top 4 are all fantastic, top tier, 4 stars and higher. Number 4 is The Death of Robin Hood. This is probably the most underrated movie of the year. This made no impact. I heard nobody talk about it, and it made no money. And I saw it opening day, and I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was such a cool take on the Robin Hood character, actually doing something different and new with it. You could just view it as Zack Snyder's Robin Hood, but I honestly view it more as like John Borman's The Beguiled, especially the second half of it. And it is an actual more interesting deconstruction of myth and hero than your average one because of the character of Robin Hood being a character that's steeped in such myth that it can just be what it is without needing to do a bunch of prerequisite clarifications. It actually is a movie that relies on your pre-existing knowledge in a way that I found acceptable and made sense. And I thought Hugh Jackman was just terrific as Robin Hood. The brutality is what stood out more than anything to me, though, and think that the gore in this is just incredible and totally worth seeing for that alone. Number 3, Power Ballad. This is, I believe his name is Joe Carney's new movie. He is a amazing filmmaker that I have enjoyed his films like Begin Again and Once, and thought that this was not on the level of either of those, but I liked it more than Sing Street, and thought that it really kept getting better as it went along. Was a nice onion of a movie that, as the layers unfolded, it got more and more powerful and touching as it had a lot to say about what the art we make means to us and what it means to us being the most important thing about what your art says. I just thought it was great, and also one of the better edited movies I've seen all year. Paul Rudd is fantastic. I've always been a huge fan of him, but I was a little wary of Nick Jonas in this, and Nick Jonas is totally the Adam Levine of Begin Again in this. He gives a good performance and is a very convincing asshole. Number 2, just barely below number 1. Number 2 is The Invite. I really loved this. I got to go to a nice early screening of it and highly recommend everyone checking this out when it comes out. New A24 movie directed by Olivia Wilde, starring her, Seth Rogen, Edward Norton, and Penelope Cruz. And just, they play off each other so great. All of them do, and it makes it a super engaging movie that flies by, even though it's just them in an apartment talking. I'm not going to talk much more about this because I don't want to give away anything. Totally worth seeing, and go in knowing the least you can, because even though it's... No, I'm not going to say anything else. We came out of it, me, my wife, and my friend, all having different thoughts. I was the highest on it, but I was still engaged and interested in what they had to say about it. But I'm not going to say what they had to say because, like I said, that'll give away too much. But number 1, the best movie of the month. Everyone should see this. The Furious. It's the best Hong Kong action movie I've seen since The Raid. Everyone says that about pretty much everyone they've seen, but this really is to me. And I thought that Joe Taslim and the main guy in this, forgive me, I don't know his name, have just been absolutely perfectly matched for each other to be the best action duo, matched up opposite the best villains, the rich asshole who just goes berserk and fucking kills everybody, and then the crazy guy who, you've seen him before. He's been in a Goon in a ton of things you've seen before, but now he's like the best he's ever been. Tracksuit, crossbow villain fucker, and they just go at it. The first 2/3 of this movie are great, but the final act, when you get to the fireworks factory, it just pops the fuck off, and I loved it. Always great to see Joe Taslim, but once again, the lead of this movie, he doesn't speak. He's just so incredible and amazing, and I thought the action was awesome. Such a kick-ass movie. My #1 movie of the month, The Furious. Let me know what movies you saw in June. I hope you had a great month at the cinemas, and I hope you liked all the movies I liked, and I hope you liked all the movies I did, because every movie should appeal to somebody. So let me know what you watched, what you enjoyed, and what you're looking forward to in July, because I'm looking forward to Evil Dead Burn, baby.